All right there, my friends. We are back at Silverfest once again, and I think we have our technical issues resolved. I am with Bill Murphy and Chris Powell of GATA. Any thoughts on where we stand here today with this situation, and just as you look back on the past 20 years of what you've done now, in many ways largely being vindicated, and if you just have any thoughts you'd like to share this morning for people?
Well, yeah, I do, Chris. I wrote a little formal presentation here, which goes into the big changes we've seen in the gold market and the silver market over the last year. And I'll start into that. And you want to cut me off, just cut me off. But some of the changes we've seen, the big changes in the gold and silver markets this year, they seem to suggest an increasing tightness in supply. And some of us think these changes suggest the implosion of the long-standing fractional reserve derivatives-based gold and silver banking system. I wanted to go through a few of them. First, of course, the gold and silver futures markets of the New York Commodities Exchange, the COMEX, have been transformed from almost entirely paper or derivatives markets to largely physical markets with huge offtakes. Meanwhile, the London gold and silver markets are having trouble delivering metal. Our friend, the London metals trader Andrew Maguire, says it's impossible to get timely delivery of gold and silver purchased in London these days, and that the quoted prices there are very misleading. They're only nominal prices. They're not capable of bringing forth real metal for delivery. A few weeks ago, the COMEX quietly implemented a vast explosion of the eligible mints of gold bars acceptable for gold futures contract delivery. Some of those mints are no longer even operating. Of course, that suggests they're having a hard time getting their hands on real metal. Volatility in the gold and silver markets has increased dramatically, but the frequent smashdowns in these markets no longer have much effect. In recent years, the smashdowns could restrain prices for weeks or even months. Now they usually see prices bouncing back in a day or two. Somebody seems to be using the dips to purchase real metal, and very quickly. Scotiabank recently paid fines of $127 million to settle gold and silver market rigging charges by the U.S. government. The bank is entering a deferred prosecution agreement with the government, indicating that the bank is expected to cooperate with the government in additional prosecutions. The bank is also closing its gold and silver business, the oldest continuously operated bullion bank in the world. Of course, gold and silver market rigging also has been confessed by JP Morgan Chase traders, as you were just discussing with Big Swear, and investigation of Morgan's market rigging continues. Our friend Ronan Manley of Bullion Star, who spoke here yesterday, has reported that the exchange-traded fund GLD appears to be storing increasing amounts of its gold at the Bank of England, though the fund's prospectus requires the fund's metal to be immediately transferred to the vaults of the fund's own custodian, HSBC. This suggests that GLD is increasingly using borrowed central bank gold to balance its accounts. Intervention in the gold market by the Bank for International Settlements, which is monitored every month by GATA's consultant, Robert Lambourne, has reached its highest level in the last 2 years and possibly the highest level in the bank's history. The BIS functions as an agent or broker for its member central banks in purchasing, lending, and swapping gold among its members so the metal may be applied to gold markets that are under stress. In doing so, the BIS provides camouflage to the interventions of its member central banks so they do not have to transact directly with bullion banks and run a greater risk of being exposed publicly. Indeed, GATA has obtained and posted at our internet site BIS documents showing that the bank considers its major purpose to be to help its member central banks control the gold price. In May this year, a study by researchers at the University of Sussex Business School in Great Britain concluded the gold futures market is indeed heavily manipulated, seemingly contrary to regulations, but that market regulators are overlooking it. In the last year, the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission repeatedly has refused to answer a critical question put to it by GATA and U.S. Representative Alex Mooney, Republican of West Virginia. That question is futures market manipulation undertaken by a broker or agent for the U.S. government subject to the Commission's jurisdiction? or is such manipulation instigated by the government legal? Since the CFTC refuses to answer that question, even for a member of Congress, you may fairly assume that the Commission considers futures market rigging by the U.S. government to be perfectly legal. That certainly would explain the Commission's strange reluctance to act against gold and futures market rigging over the years. Perhaps GATA's first great success came in 2001 in U.S. District Court in Boston when our consultant, Reg Howe, extracted from an assistant U.S. attorney a claim that the Gold Reserve Act of 1934, establishing the Exchange Stabilization Fund in the Treasury Department, does indeed empower the U.S. government to rig the gold market exactly as Howe's lawsuit complained. If you will visit the Exchange Stabilization Fund's page at the Treasury Department's internet site, you may see that the Treasury Department construes the Gold Reserve Act to authorize it to rig not just the gold market, but any market in the world. When GATA got started in 1999, nearly all respectable market participants insisted that the gold market was not being manipulated by governments or anyone else. Today, most respectable market participants acknowledge that most markets are indeed being heavily manipulated by governments, but they don't want to talk about gold. Now, this, of course, is a bit of an improvement, since at least it seems that nobody today is willing to deny that the gold market is being manipulated by governments. But monetary metals investors want to know when gold and silver will break free of this manipulation at last, break free of the long-standing Western government policy of driving the monetary metals out of the world financial system, the policy that is extensively documented at GATA's internet site. We at GATA tend to expect another international currency revaluation in the next few years, or as soon as the next few weeks. Something like that likely will be announced on a Sunday night before the Asian markets open. Of course, such plans are not going to be shared with us in advance, but the day could be hastened if mainstream financial news organizations reclaim their integrity and began committing some journalism about central banking and gold. All they have to do is what they have never done, put a few critical questions to central banks and regulatory agencies and report their refusals to answer. Central banking's power to create and dispense infinite money is, of course, a spectacular power, but to succeed, it usually requires secrecy and deception. For if investors are not kept ignorant or deceived, the power of central banking's infinite money vaporizes. That's why central banking's most critical power now is the power to intimidate financial news organizations out of their duty, and why GATA is grateful to you, Chris and Yara, for granting us this forum, and grateful to everyone who attends.
I appreciate that, Chris. Appreciate everything you said there. We're all darn grateful for you and the things that you've done and what you stand for. And in honor of that, we have something special planned here. And Yara, could you bring in our two other friends? We're going to see if we can get Silver Bill Murphy back in there. And something that Andy as well, I'd like to announce for the first time, something I've thought about for years, which I've decided to call the Arcadia Foundation. It's kind of exciting to see our audience growing and just different things coming together and being in the position where starting to be able to give back to the people and good causes that have helped us all on this journey. So we've created the Arcadia Foundation, and kindly we have 4 sponsors tonight, and part of their appearance here at Silverfest, a portion of their sponsorship is going to the Arcadia Foundation to commit good deeds on behalf of the silver industry. So along those lines, and then I see we have handsome Andy Scheckman looking very dapper this morning, sir.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, Chris. How are you, buddy?
Very good, thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Hopefully we'll have Silver Bill Murphy on there in a second, even if it's just the video. But Chris and Bill, we have a couple presents for you. And I'm also putting the, wrong tab there. I'm going to put in the chat the link if anybody else would like to support the great things that Chris and Bill are doing. And along those lines, I'm going to start the party here. Andy, if you can give me a moment to figure out how to remember the screen share. I thought this would be something nice. We had First Majestic Silver. Keith Newmeyer was showing us these nifty silver cubes that have 27 pieces in there. And on behalf of Arcadia, the Arcadia Foundation, and First Majestic Silver, we have the 10-gram silver cubes, 27 pieces, one coming each your way, one for Chris, one for Silver Bill, and that's just as a thank you. I know there's a lot, not to compare to anybody else, just I feel it's important that you guys get some of the recognition that you deserve. I'm honored that you're here today, and so on behalf of all of us, we're going to get you a nice silver cube coming your way, Chris, and for Bill as well.
Thank you very much. Maybe we can drop it on Jamie Dimon's head.
No, well, we'll let them do their thing, and you just keep being great like you are, and you keep that silver. I mean, it seems like they've got enough already. And Andy, I believe, had something he wanted to share as well there.
Yeah,
Andy,
Chris, you know, you and Bill have had. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, good. So, Chris, you and Bill have been a central figure in my career and in our success. And as you know, I'm fond of when I give public speeches and telling everyone that we all owe you a debt of gratitude. Just about everything I've ever done in the past 7 or 8 or 10 years centers around the work that you and Bill have done. I think that everyone who owns an ounce of gold or an ounce of silver needs to read you guys say, need to say thank you to you in our own way. So I'm going to give each one of you and Bill a 10-ounce silver magnificent maple leaf.
Oh my
I'll send
God.
you one and I'll send Bill one. It's the least I can do. Without you guys, my career would not be anywhere near where it is today. And I only hope and pray that you guys have the strength to keep going and to see this through. Because you are really the only ones who have had the courage to do this. And I, for one, think the world of you and Bill and the work that you do. And just that's my father and myself's way of saying thank you for what you're doing, for your friendship over the years. And, you know, keep going, man. It seems like only yesterday I met you for dinner in Montreal, but that was got to be at least 15 years ago, maybe longer. So anyways, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Bill, wherever you are. And you got supporters here in Minnesota who
Andy,
who
thank
really
you very
dig what
much.
you're doing.
And next year at Moishes.
Sounds good, brother.
thank
Sounds
you, Andy. Thank you, Chris, and perhaps
good.
I think all that matters is even that whether we could get Bill's audio feed, that people saw his face, they saw your face here, and recognize what you've done. So I thank you for being here. So with that said, some good news, because I believe Chris and Bill have a little time. If anybody would like to meet these great men, Andy, you're going to host them and make them feel honored and celebrated, as they should well be, in your booth, I hear.
Yes, I am. I know I have a main stage deal here in about 10 minutes. Should I run back to the booth now and do that, or should I hang out until the
open your booth, let Bill and Chris in, maybe if Jana's free and someone can just moderate. I know there's a ton of people that are going to want to have the opportunity to talk with them and share their appreciation. So perhaps you can do that. I'll hop in there for a minute, and then yeah, we'll try and stay on schedule here, and in 5 minutes take some questions. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. True or false? Some storage questions. So, but at least for 5 minutes, everybody, let's go on into the Miles Franklin booth, celebrate GATA. And one last thing I wanted to mention, if I may, and it's stupid. We'll share it in the booth as well. But Bill Murphy, that man sat there for years, maybe a decade, and told everybody, when silver crosses $21, watch out. And Bill Murphy was darn right. So I just want to notate that. And anybody else who would like to talk with Chris and Bill, let's head on over to the Miles Franklin booth now.